As young adults in the Cleveland area, we have a unique perspective on how the RNC will affect the local community. With this perspective, we aim to show you how the next generation of young voters view the convention, Republican Party, and political process as a whole.
I have never been a fan of the Republican Party, but I think lately especially it's been drifting further and further away from any sort of actual political philosophy and relying solely on, like, far out ideology, that extremist ideology basically. And I think a lot of people in 2012 were talking about, oh, how's the GOP ever going to win an election again if they can't convert minority voters, they can't convert all these different voting blocks that have been going to the Democrats for a while now and are growing within our country. And I think their solution to that was to run such a populist candidate like Donald Trump.
I don't feel like Donald Trump represents the Republican Party. On an ideological standpoint, I don't agree with the Republican Party. I don't agree with their values. But I mean, yeah, I don't care. I don't care for them.
I don't really mind the Republican Party. Some of their views I don't necessarily agree with. It's just like the outrageous and vocal ones that I do not like.
What do you think of the Republican Party?
I think it's hard to just have one thing about the Republican Party, because on one hand, there are definitely moderates who aren't really hurting anyone. We may have different economic views, but I don't really fault them for that. They can be more progressive and stuff. But on the other hand, there are the extremists that are going with Trump that support him, and because the more moderate Republicans don't want Hillary, they're going to back Trump, which is just harming the country in general.
When you heard the RNC was coming to Cleveland, what did you think?
I thought this would be great for Cleveland, but I don't like the person that's actually coming here, so I really didn't care for it as much as I would have if somebody else was.
When I first heard about it a long time ago, before I knew who was coming, I was like, oh, it's kind of cool that they picked Cleveland. Who picks Cleveland? That's really, really cool. But I never thought that it would be Donald Trump coming.
I mean, I was definitely conflicted because it's certainly not where my political views fall. But at the same time, I knew it would bring a lot of economic impact into Cleveland, and I knew it would help us advance a lot of projects for the good of the city, which I think it followed through on its promise to do so. We completed Public Square, we got all these new hotels. So yeah, I was excited for the possibilities.
How has it affected Cleveland, general downtown? That's a broad question.
There's a lot of people down here. I think a lot of people get to come downtown and really see downtown that don't do it normally. Definitely a lot of people from out of town that probably have never been to Cleveland. Now they come here and they see how great the city is.
So, there have been a lot of people about safety. How much of that concern has been valid? How much of it is coming from?
I mean, you always have to be concerned when you have this many people in a small area. I mean, we have more than enough law enforcement down here to keep it safe, and that's what we intend to do.
Yeah, my dad works downtown, so it was different driving into work and driving out of work for him. More traffic, more rules and regulations that changed at his actual job. My mother also is like my sister said, a supervisor of a home health aides. So driving around downtown was different and stuff like that.
My mom, for instance, works in downtown, and so she didn't have to go in all week. So lucky her. I know a couple people who work downtown, and none of them had to go in.
For the first 3 days of the RNC, we had only 50 orders for a whole day. So it was real slow because we couldn't go downtown. So
How many orders do you normally have in a day?
Each person has about 15 to 20, and during the RNC, I only had 5 or less, which sucked. And we get the most tips downtown at the hotels, and we couldn't deliver at the hotel.
The air down there didn't feel tense at all. It was kind of like a picnic type scenario. Like it was just a lot of people like walking around, standing and talking and stuff. We were over on Public Square where they just built that new park. So like a lot of green space and stuff like that. So you just saw people sitting and, you know, talking with each other. And there were like food trucks parked all around. So people were getting food. And like there was a guy with lots of bubbles and he was blowing bubbles and everybody was happy about the bubbles, running around trying to film that. There's also people doing like weird interpretive dances. So like they were dancing like around the little grass in Public Square. So it really wasn't anything tense. Like from how people made it sound, like there would be like constant like mobs or riots or stuff like that. Like it would be something dangerous. Like I know my mom didn't want me going downtown for the RNC, but it really wasn't as bad as people made it out to be.
So around where Jack's Casino is, there were fences, like these big gates, I guess, and then there were a lot of people, but in really compacted areas. Like some areas of downtown were really empty and some areas were super full.
I went downtown actually a couple days ago. I didn't really see much. It was kind of weird because there was more people down there trying to look for stuff to film than people actually doing stuff. Like there was like Lifetime, which I didn't even know had a news channel, and like news stations and stuff like that. There were just like really a lot of people down there looking for something to film. So it's funny, you just seeing reporters like running around, like seeing something happen. Like there's literally like 6 or 7 reporters circling a guy that like had bubbles, filming him and interviewing him. So there really wasn't anything that political going down on when I was down there.
I think the air when I was down there was pretty calm, actually. I would have expected it to be more tense given the stake of, you know, what's at hand. But no, overall it was very calm. People seemed very collected. People were just trying to get their message out.
It was a whole bunch of people were saying like it was more calm than they expected it would be, and I agree because I was expecting it to be more chaotic. Also, I expected to see more black people there, but
What kind of people did you see?
there were a lot of white people, Republicans, and then there were like Hispanics there, like protesting against the Republicans. That was like on Wednesday when I went there.
Sure, so our organization's sort of bread and butter is the First Amendment. People often look to our agency to defend the freedom of speech, the freedom of association, and at large political conventions, that often plays out as defending the right to protest and demonstrate and celebrate and gather in the streets. And so leading up to the Republican National Convention, we knew that there were going to be an unprecedented number of media, of folks coming from all over the country to either celebrate or demonstrate against the nominee and some of the issues being raised. So we were in a monitoring role. And the other major thing that we did was we litigated a settlement with the city of Cleveland to expand and protect the rights of folks to gather and express themselves.
Okay, cool.
The advocacy that we did and the lawsuit settlement that we were able to obtain with the city was precedent setting for future conventions and political events of large scale. I think we were really able to come out with the city to a place where, you know, they presented something that was speech suppressing. We pushed back and we were able to come to a place where the city justified every restriction that it put on speech with a sharpened pencil. And that's what you want. That's what the First Amendment demands, is that if the government is going to put restrictions on speech, that it justify them in a very, very granular way.